Clue. It's not just a game anymore.
Hi, welcome to The Real Generation Gap. I'm Rudy Ruiz.
I'm Fred Satilli.
And today we're talking about the movie Clue from 1985. So Clue is a whodunit comedy based off the popular board game of its era. And it follows the story of some eccentric people that get invited to a mansion party, but then people start getting killed and they're trying to figure out who did it.
And
sorry, not the best.
I guess it. No, that was. You do those intros really well. I mean, it's extemporaneous. We're not reading this or anything. Yeah. I don't know how he remembers all that stuff.
There's always like a moment in there where you see me thinking of what to say next.
Visualizing the piece of paper that I had written, well. It probably won't take anybody more than a second to know that I recommended this movie because I think it's really great and really fun. And Tim Curry was his absolute peak. He was just coming off Rocky Horror Picture Show, right, which was a legendary thing. And this is absolutely an all-star cast. Everybody in this cast is a good big star in their own right. And I always like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're all showing off. For those of you who don't know, Clue was a board game.
When you play Clue, you have to figure out who did it. There are suspects, weapons, and scenes for a crime.
Mr. Green did it in the study with a knife. I got a clue card. I know. It was Miss Scarlet in the conservatory with a candlestick. Wow! Elementary, my dear Betsy.
Clue from Parker Brothers.
That was the idea of the game. So you had cards and everything, and you figured out finally like what weapon was used, and then where was everybody, and who could have been there, and what room were they in, and that kind of stuff. And it was a pretty fun game to play, but not nearly as much fun as this movie.
Yeah, I had never played the game, but I know like people that have. I know it's popular. I know the movie is somewhat of a cult classic, I'd say, but I never saw it like prior to this.
Because everybody like Martin Mull at that time, he had like a hit TV show at the time, and some of these people, Madeline Kahn, just did an incredible job as Mrs. White. Michael McKean, he was the gay guy, but not really, and of course Leslie Ann Downs is so attractive, with the killer. She was the prostitute, right? And
there's Peacock.
Yeah, Eileen Brennan, fantastic job. Leslie Ann Downs. Oh, and Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah,
right, as the UN guy. So all these people are summoned to the house because they're all being blackmailed, and they all either work in or work along with Washington, D.C. or something somehow. You have to figure out who's blackmailing them, and that's Mr. Body. He shows up at the practically haunted house with the really heavy rain outside. Yeah. No one can leave. They're locked in, right? Even though they're locked in at one point, they go to the front door and open it up and talk. It's like, what happened to them? I thought they were locked in. It's a little bit of a mistake there. But as soon as they're all established and they're all in the dining room, they're locked in there and the lights go out and there's a shot and there's a scream. And then they wake up and Mr. Body is dead on the floor. And they all look at each other. One of us have done this. Mm-hmm. Which one of us is the killer, right? Up at that point, everybody's just being blackmailed. There's no killer.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now there is, and they're all suspicious of each other. But they come to the conclusion that maybe there's someone else in the house. So they're going to split up and search the house. Mm-hmm. And just the amount of things that happen, I will tell you that the first moment where I burst out laughing because Madeline Kahn, Mrs. White, for a moment, she's me. And that is...
Look, I want a straight answer. Is there someone else or isn't there? Yes or no? No. No, there is or no, there isn't? Yes.
Please!
She throws the glass in the fireplace and she shrieks, please! That's how I am. Like if people are having like a stupidest argument ever, it's just like you're tearing your hair out. And then later, when she explains why she killed
Mrs. White, you were jealous that your husband was shopping Yvette. That's why you killed him, too.
Yes. Yes, I did it. I killed Yvette. I hated her so much. Flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
And then she had the other great line, too, where Tim Curry says, and you, Mrs. White, how many husbands have you had? And she says, mine or other women's.
Yeah. Yeah.
She says to him, someday you and I will be alone together and you'll see. He goes, Mrs. White, there's not a man alive that would be alone with you in a room, you know. She really does a great part. Eileen Brennan as the senator's wife who's being blackmailed. Hysterical the whole time when she thinks she drank the poison.
Right.
Maybe it's the brandy. Ah! You know. And Martin Mull, I can't take one more thing, you know, and then the chandelier falls right behind him.
I thought for sure he was getting whacked, at least the second time when they were doing it again, and he narrowly steps out of the way.
But the reason that I really love the movie is because it's got 3 endings. Tim Curry says, I figured it out. I know what happened. And he tells a completely plausible story. And then there's a thing like an old time movie thing that comes on that says, maybe that's what happened, but what about this? And then he explains a completely different scenario where everybody was, because there were secret passages in the house.
Yeah.
And it's like, you were in this room when Yvette screamed, and then we went in the kitchen and you weren't there, and you went through the secret passage. And then Howard Hesseman is the detective at the end who comes in, you know, with the police and everything.
It's funny, Christopher Lloyd's performance in this is so understated and subdued. It's not like maxed out Christopher Lloyd,
he
which
doesn't
I would have
become Jim
loved
on Taxi. Right,
I would have loved to see that. I was expecting a little something like that, but he just plays
a little
it
bit more.
Yeah, just plays it very very straight. And
Spaced
it's funny
out.
because I think Back to the Future came out after this, and I always forget that at that time he like wasn't that old, but they give him the white hair and this and that. So as he's aged throughout the years, he just always has looked like Doc Brown. But it's like, oh, this movie was the same year or a year before, and he looks quite a bit younger, you know?
Yeah, he never did a part as a young man.
Now, did you see this in theaters? Because in theaters, in the theatrical release, it didn't have all 3 endings at the end. Paramount, when they put it out, had some theaters with different endings. So A, B, and C. And Siskel and Ebert talked about that and how they're like, yeah, they're all kind of whack. A is probably the best one. If you can figure out which theater has A, go see A. But I thought that was pretty cool and interesting. I like stuff like that, like the theatrical experience. Everyone's going to see something different. And then when you get the actual, you know, physical media, then you get to enjoy all 3. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I've only seen it with all 3 endings.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it where when that was game on.
Right, yeah.
You know, which ending could it be?
I thought it was okay. Like, this is one that, and I know so many people have seen, I feel like I'm in the minority of folks that haven't. So, John Landis was involved in this? Okay, I should have looked that up. Executive producer. All right. Yeah, it didn't work for me that well. I feel like this is one that I'd feel differently if I saw it as a kid. You know, if I like grew up watching this movie, like I think most people have.
Oh, I had moments where I just burst out laughing out loud.
Yeah, there's a couple where a little bit. I'm not like, you know, like out loud, but there was a few lines and a couple little spots in there that I did think were pretty good. But for the most part, you know, the humor isn't quite for me. It would be fun, I think, to catch us at a screening if New Beverly or somewhere like played it, because I think it could be fun to watch with a group of people, like a big group of people in a theater, because just some of the lines do hit really well. And even though the humor is cheesy, some of it works really well. And then you have the delivery of Tim Curry. Like everything he delivers is just gold.
Right.
You know, he's the one to watch.
He says, at this point I was out in the hall. I know because I was there.
Yeah.
And then when he's explaining everything, like what happened, like you did this, you did that, he actually slaps the one in the face. He drags Madeline out of the stairs and drops her. You know, he's moving so quick, and there was a shot, bang. This is, you know.
Yeah.
And at one point, Michael McKean says, "Stop doing that."
Yeah.
And he says, "No."
Yeah.
You know. And the high-speed storytelling.
At
the end.
Yeah, really interesting the way it's
imagine
written.
shooting all that.
Yeah,
right? Every one of those moments, like
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking that just how long did that take? What was that process? And then to do ending number 1 and like, okay, guys, we're gonna do it again, but slightly different. Angles are gonna be a little different. He's gonna do things in a different order, say a whole different thing. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and even when he said the same thing, he did different action.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it was altered just enough.
I really think it's a great movie. I think it's a must see. You know, it's just something you have to have in your
in the repertoire.
Right. Every single person acted, their acting was great. They all did their parts really convincingly and well. Even the ancillary characters, the policeman and the singing telegram girl, it was just like, oh.
That was crazy to me that they just got shot. I was not expecting that. Like, oh man, okay. This is like
they
pretty
shut the
dark.
door.
Yeah, this is actually, when they go check. I'm like, this is actually a pretty dark movie. Like,
Yeah.
at times. Written in a very interesting way. I think written well. I feel like it's pretty quotable, but since I've only seen it once, I don't have all the lines down.
Right.
But even just in discussing it, like the thought of that, I feel like the discussion of it is almost more entertaining at times than the actual
There are so
movie.
many
Like
nuances. Didn't you love it when Mrs. White opened her black coat and it was white inside?
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, she's at the front door,
Yeah.
all tragic and grim.
Yeah.
Right. She's got the veil and the black hat and the black coat and stuff. And he's just going to take your coat, and she opens it like Dracula, like she like giant wings like this, and it's got a white satin inside. It's really striking.
Yeah.
You must have dozed off a minute there, or
Yeah.
changed
May
the
have been that
put the
time.
game on or whatever. Ate something that
Yeah.
Sometimes you can look away but it's a striking moment.
Yeah.
Great movie. It's to me, it's a must see. I think it's absolutely, either you've seen it or you didn't. The same thing goes with Murder by Death and 10 Little Indians. These are all same people locked in a house.
Yeah.
You got to see them, And Murder by Death. We'll do that soon. You're you didn't like this that much.
Yeah. It was all right.
You go ahead and throw a rating out.
I'll give it a 4. For you just named some other recommendations. I would say for any, modern audiences, a little younger that didn't see this, if you like that movie Knives Out, clearly this was a really big influence on Knives Out. So if you're like into that and that kind of it owes a lot to this film, I think. Like Rian Johnson is clearly a fan of this movie. Yeah, I thought it was all right. I'll say 4. And I do hope to catch it at a screening with some, I would give it another chance for sure. I want to give it a chance in
That's sporty.
the right environment, because I think it would play well. Like I can see it. I can see all the jokes landing way more when you've got the energy of people, especially people that love it, and are probably going to quote along with it. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rocky Horror in that way.
Right, yeah.
You can only see
lot
that
of
like on
audience
Halloween with
engagement.
people dressed up like the
Right.
characters and singing the songs along with it. And
Yeah.
I will give this an 8.
Okay.
It's obviously not the funniest. It's not The Hangover. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
the funniest, or what's a Tropic Thunder?
Yeah.
That's like the funniest movie ever made, right? This is absolutely not that, but it is quite a masterpiece in its own way, and every part of it, the writing's good, the shooting's good, the scenes are good. Everything is. It's just really a great movie. It is what it is. It's Clue. Thank you all for tuning in and watching this. As I always say many times, if you know about the Real Generation Gap and you're not sure what movie you want to watch tonight, I don't know about you, but I turn on some of these things, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and it doesn't seem like there's anything there that I want to see, or I go through lots and lots of choices. Sometimes I'll see something I've seen before because I know I like it and I'm going to like it again. But this is starting to become a real good catalog of possibilities for people who need a unique idea for whatever crazy reason. So go through our catalog, watch the review, and maybe watch the movie. Anyway, thanks again. I'm Fred Satilli.
I'm Rita Ruiz.
We'll see you next time.